Hello and welcome to a new series I'm doing, going through the newspapers. I haven't got a title for it yet, but I will do by the time I've put the show out, whenever I've done this. But basically, as a comedian, we keep on being told that you need to do content, all about content, do some content, more content. The only thing I do is, as a political comedian, is I read the news. And so something to help me get through the day is we're going to go through the paper and see what the world's burning like. I think it's important to know who's fucking you, and as a follow-on from Political Breakdown, which is what I used to do with other guests, gonna just go through the paper. We've got the Guardian, because I am a lefty, although I will go through others if you want me to, although I don't necessarily want to give money to right-wing papers, but if I do more of these, then I no doubt will do, although I don't fucking want to. So front page, main stuff, rebels pile on PM over benefits as further 450,000 face poverty. This is with regards to Liz Truss on benefits, wanting to raise benefits in line with real earnings, which is about 5.5% instead of inflation, which is 10%. Because what you've got there is a cut. That's what it is. If something goes up by 10% and you're putting up something by 5.5%, that is a cut. That's how cuts work. So every time that the government says to you, I tell you, look at the amount of money that we're putting into the fucking NHS or schools or fucking anything, you always have to look at what the real term is, because normally 10 times out of a dozen, £6 for fucking half, what you've got there is a cut. That's what they're doing. They go, oh, well, we are putting £1 billion into the NHS. They go, yeah, but inflation has gone up this amount of times over the years, and you've also made this amount of cuts. So actually, in real terms, what you've done is another cut. That's why it's always fucked. We're potentially looking on for another U-turn. Liz Truss, of course, the woman not for turning, which you got from Thatcher, because Thatcher was not for turning except when she did, and because politicians lie because they want to be popular. I know Liz Truss said that she's willing to be unpopular, which isn't it. When she says that, it doesn't sound like it's her choice. It's like when an incel says, "Oh, I'm willing to be single." I don't think it's because of you. I don't actually think it's your choice. But supposedly, and this is all on here, is that Tory MPs have been warning that they will vote against her when she comes out and says that she's going to raise benefits in line with real term instead, in line with earnings instead of real term. What's fascinating about this is it shows that there is a line for certain Tory MPs they're unwilling to cross. But it's like watching someone get beaten up and then you getting involved once the buddy starts fucking twisting nipples. Go, oh, that's a bit too far for me. I'm fine with beating them with a crowbar, but now you're just taunting them. The concept of integrity is so away from reality. If I was a psychiatrist, I'd probably find it fascinating, but as I'm just a poor comedian, I find it terrifying. That's that bit of news. You got Putin claiming that the attack on the bridge between Russia and Crimea was an act of terror, which you can't even... The fucking brass tacks it requires for these sociopaths. And it's there, all leaders have to have their shame taken away from them, otherwise they can't possibly be leaders, because you have to be there going, well, I know that I'm in Ukraine killing all of these fucking people, but I tell you what I don't like, this bridge being blown up. This is terror. Like, well, what the fuck are you doing then? I mean, war is just terror with some fucking planning involved, isn't it, really? You all dress the same. Actually, it's like a fucking London catwalk of war that's not fucking terror, it's bollocks. He's a fucking loon. On loons, you got over in Iran. Iran are closing schools in a bid to curb protests. This is one of the major fucking good news stories that you've got in the world at the moment, where you've got the protests by the majority of young girls who have had enough of being treated as fucking cattle, with Iran taking the hijab and absolutely corrupting what it was there for, part of a religious, and now it's part of it's not even for religion now. What it is, it's more of a fucking noose to hang someone with, saying, well, no, you're property, you're not a person, that's all you are, is property. After a poor girl, 22-year-old, was killed by the morality police. Just take a moment to consider anyone having the audacity to call themselves a fucking morality police. You know, at that point, you just like, do you read? Do you understand that anyone calling themselves morality police? There's no goodness. It's too on the nose. You can't write that anymore into a fucking dystopian future book, because they'll be like going, oh no, this is a bit too fucking on the nose, isn't it? I mean, we know you're the bad guys here. You fucking you can't make it any harder. You can't make it more obvious than if you're calling it the fucking, we're gonna go fucking rape the goats police or whatever, fucking mad bastards. There's some horse shit about Claridge's I couldn't give a fuck about. Truss spending a lot of money travelling as a role of foreign secretary, doing fuck all when she was foreign secretary, of course. You've got stuff on Ukraine, don't want to go over more Ukraine. That's the stuff on the levelling up house building. We're going to be taking away more regulation for house building. Simon Clarke, who's the levelling up secretary, levelling up, of course, means nothing. It's nothing. It's fucking, you may as well call it the hullabaloo shoe fucking secretary. Levelling up doesn't mean anything, never has meant anything. It's empty words from empty people, like husks of humanity fucking standing above us, telling us that we all need to bow to some old cunt. But what they're planning on doing is with house building. As we know, one of the major problems that we've got in this country is a lack of housing, and what we should do to solve that is build houses. It's not a difficult concept. I'm not fucking reworking the wheel at this point. We all know build houses, but if you're going to build houses, you have to make sure that they're affordable, and you have to make sure that people can actually fucking buy them. But they're going to, where is it? He's going to cool down environmental protections and affordable home requirements. Normally, when you're building houses, at least a percentage of them, normally something like 10% of them, I think, I could be wrong on there, have to be affordable housing. Now, if you change that, then you're just going to be building houses that no one can afford anyway, and you're going to get more money from overseas who are going to buy them, rent them out, and you're going to get into the same fucking problem that you've got now. Pointless exercise. What else have we got? Sturgeon has come under fire for using dangerous language about Tories. This is where she said that she detests Tories. That's not dangerous language, that's truth. No one, you're not going to find a fucking psychopath who has gone out and killed MPs. They're not killing MPs because Sturgeon has said that she detests the Tories. They're killing MPs because of the far right madness where they claim everyone's a fucking lizard paedophile. That's the dangerous language. Dangerous language is someone like Swella Braveman coming out and saying that migrants are gaming the system, which she's also said. And then you're putting a target to show that any migrant that comes into this country hasn't come into this country because they're chance of being killed or anything like that. It's because they're fucking come over to take your jobs and all of this. That's dangerous. That pushes racism. That pushes hatred. Saying that the head of the SNP detests the Tories. That's expected. That's all that is. And you've got, I think finally, because I'm not going to go through the entire fucking paper, alarm over proposals to block solar schemes in England. This is ministers are planning to ban solar farms for most of England's farmland, which is stupid as fuck. We need solar panels. We need wind farms. It's the only way to make to deal with the fucking issues that we have in energy crisis is to move away from oil and gas. We have to move away from oil and gas. It's not a difficult concept. We all know we have to move away from oil and gas. I mean, the only way that I would bring back oil and gas is if we fucking wiped out everyone that I disliked, waited a few thousand years, and then dug them up and put them into a fucking car. That would be the only way I'd continue to go for oil and gas. The rest of it, it's a pointless exercise. We know it destroys the country. We know it destroys the world. We know that it's bad for pollution. We know it's expensive. We know that what we've done now is we've bent ourselves over for oil and gas companies to control us in any way, shape or form they like. You've got the likes of BP and Shell spending millions of pounds on PR so that you see their adverts and they're going, look at the amount of green work we're doing. The fact is that the amount of money they're putting into green energy innovations is a fucking piss in the ocean comparative to the amount of money that they're still putting in to oil and gas, because that's where their money is. Now, if you were to move toward a more renewable stance, I bet you fucking £2 here and now that you would see how quickly all of their money would go towards renewable, because they don't want to lose money. And so if they saw everything was going in that way, it'd be done, wouldn't it? Well, not long. That was fine. Let me know if you thought this was something worth continuing. Some stuff there to work on for actual material at some point. Well, thank you.